Welcome to Two Dudes, One Car. I'm Parker Nierenstein. This is Alejandro.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, by the way. I thought
I
have to say my own name.
I thought
That's
maybe you
disgusting.
forgot your own name, so
No, I appreciate it.
Figured I'd
How you doing,
mention it
dude?
for you. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am ready to talk about cars right now.
Heck yeah. So we just finished a podcast on his channel, so if you haven't checked that out, it's already live. I've got a link.
And also, I think people should check out the Spotify,
100%.
iTunes, Google Cast, Amazon, everything down here. We're going to put or you're going to actually put the links in the description down below so that people can actually subscribe on the regular platforms. And also, while they're driving, having a long drive, or having sex with their partners, they can also
That's
put the
when
podcast.
you're supposed. That's the main goal of this podcast.
That's what we
is
wanted.
For when people are conceiving a child, we want good background noise.
Absolutely.
So
I think it's needed. I
Yeah.
think it's missing in this world.
100%. Oh my gosh. So we got some awesome things to talk about today. I want to talk about the Mustang GTD. I want to talk about the new cheap Tesla, cars that you've had that you miss, cars that you've never driven that you want to drive, and then something that he wanted to talk about on the last podcast, but we ran out of time, and that is companies, car companies that you're invested in.
Yeah.
So let's start it off with the Mustang GTD.
I need you to tell me what the fuck that is.
Yeah, okay.
I saw the pictures. It looks ridiculous. And I let me understand it, because I know you. By the way, you like Ford, right?
Yeah, I'm a Ford guy.
Okay. So I need someone that likes Ford to explain this to me so that
Sure.
I like it, please.
Sure. I mean, I'm a Ford guy, but this is where it really gets difficult.
It gets dicey?
Yeah. So
Okay.
So it's got a 5.2 liter supercharged V8. They haven't.
Okay.
I don't believe they've said the exact horsepower, but it's 800 plus. It's basically a car you can drive on the road that's based on their GT3, GT4 race car.
Okay.
So it's essentially a GT500 with carbon everything, and it's 300 grand. And they're going to make
Mustang?
about 1,000. So the interesting part is 1,000 units is actually less than the Ford GT, and they've proved they can sell a $500,000 to a $600,000 car and also get more than sticker for the car.
But you saw the Ford GT.
But it's a Ford GT.
And it looks completely
Yeah,
wild.
yeah.
And it doesn't have a Mustang badge.
Yeah.
And they've destroyed that Mustang badge with a Mach-E, son, in my opinion. Like, who the fuck looks at a Mach-E, looks at the Mustang in the back of it, right? Because it's got the little horse of it, and goes, that is cool. Like, who?
Yeah, the Mach-E was a name massacre for sure. I think, man, the GTD will be interesting. I think it's gonna I think it'll set performance records. I think it's gonna be serious on the track. Would I pay $300K for one? Absolutely
But hang
not.
on.
Absolutely not.
So at that price, you're competing with Porsche, with
Yeah.
GT3s,
Yeah.
GT3 RSs.
I think it's gonna be faster. And if it's,
Oh my God!
if it is,
I'm sorry. Did I hear that right? Did you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that this is gonna be faster?
because
than
well,
those?
like a GT3 RS, we got a little over 500 horsepower. If it doesn't beat the new GT3 RS, then it's a failed project, in my opinion. You can't pay $300,000 for a Mustang for it to be slower than a similarly priced Porsche.
I like the idea that they're making 1,000 or less than 1,000.
Yeah.
I like that idea, because the GT3 RS, the one thing is, because I was looking at into like, should I buy that? Should I buy Sterrata? Should I buy the LT? Whatever the fuck it is, that was a possibility. And what I learned from those three RSs, because I had one in the past, is they make so many of them. Eventually, when they all show up, no one wants them. They go down. That's when you buy those.
Yeah.
Not when the hype's going
Yeah,
on.
100%.
Like right now.
100%.
So I said, I'm going to wait a little bit. The hype is crazy right now. Those are really good looking cars. I'm dying to drive one. Haven't driven one yet.
GT3 RS?
Yes.
It drives really well. I will say,
imagine.
it like the performance, the grip, the handling is gnarly. It outperforms, of course, any GT3 RS before it. But the 4.0 997 that you had feels more fun to drive. It's just more exciting. It has more feedback. It's a little bit more toned down and synthetic to almost appeal to the buyer who has the money to pay $500, $600K for a markup GT3 RS, but it lost some of the feedback.
Really?
You're going around the track faster than anyone else, and it's easy to drive, and it's amazing.
No,
but I left it going, I don't think I actually would spend the money on this anymore.
That's where it gets me because now all of these cars are becoming so good.
Yeah.
And it's not like in the 918, as much as the car made you a better driver, that shit was dangerous as shit when you're driving it really fast and hard on a track.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can lose it easy.
I still think, though, that the 918 is less fun to drive than the 4.0 GT3 RS.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
I agree with you on
918,
that.
it's faster, it's cooler
It's a
looking,
different
it's more
thing.
special, but it's
Yes.
just a different thing. It's,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more like the new GT3 RS is a weird comparison, but it's a little bit like Nissan GTR for the time, really fast, high tech, but it's just missing.
It was a video
something.
game.
It's missing something.
And the GTR, it never got me in there because it felt like a video game.
Yeah.
I was driving something that, I can do all these crazy things, but I feel like I'm not doing it.
100%.
Like there's no connection there.
Yeah.
It's like, when you're banging a beautiful girl, but there's still nothing there and she's just like there.
Yeah, I've
you're
never
like,
experienced that.
Well, I feel like it's very removed
Yeah.
from the reality.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that, like, for example, the LT, now that I got my LT, that's so connected.
Yes.
Like, I feel
Yes.
the earth as it's fucking spinning and I'm moving the car around. Like, I
100%.
feel like I'm moving the
100%.
road. I love that. There's nothing, even the Lambo, the Performante, or the Desperado, or any of those, or even the STO, as much as you're feeling it, it's still a little detached. There's a degree of detachment from like the
100%. And that's why I
motion.
have
Your
a 600
LT.
LT.
I
And
get it.
It just, the handling is amazing and it just feels epic.
So at $300,000 with this Mustang, you're looking at competition that's fucking crazy already.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you could buy my roof scoop 600 LTs are in the 300 to 315 range. So if you're getting a GTD at sticker, it's the same price.
Okay.
If you're taking finances out completely, like a money play, I'm choosing the car that I own. Now, if
I'd
you,
agree.
I weirdly think that even though 300K is ridiculous for a Mustang, because it's limited, because it's going to perform well, and because of how the Ford GTs have done, I think people are going to be paying crazy over sticker for the car.
I'm not going to go against that. I think there's 1,000 people,
Yeah.
to call them nicely, that will get this
Like
car.
Ford has a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So
I
1,000
never understood
really
that.
rich people are gonna buy
Within the
car.
Middle East, there's at least 100 that can easily buy that. And
There's
will-
one guy
would
that's gonna buy 100.
love that. You know,
You know?
the Sultan of Brunei.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So he's
My
got
guy.
985 of them, and the
Basically.
15 that are left.
And all of them are gonna melt underneath the fucking
Yeah.
like the sun destroying them. But no. It's I think it's true what you're saying. I think there's enough interest from a Ford market perspective to get the car. Now, will that make it make sense? At least for me, no.
For me, no, as well.
I think
Yeah.
you need to get in that car, drive it, hear an engine that you don't hear in anything else.
Sure.
Get a feeling that you're not feeling in anything else, and then get some sort of extra premium somewhere else in there, whether it's the materials that are so fine. Because my problem with the Ford GT is now that I was looking, maybe I'll buy a Ford GT. And as soon as I see the interior and the cheesy ass Ford steering wheel with all the little knobs, I'm like, oh,
So here's the thing
do I
with the
wanna spend
GT.
$1 million on this bullshit?
If they get it right, it has a big potential. The Ford GT, yes, I agree. The plasticky, weird, like spur-looking buttons
$1 million, it's retarded.
Are odd,
Yeah.
yeah. But it is more raw than almost anything.
I agree.
It's so gnarly. You hear all the rocks pinging off the bottom, and it feels
way it looks.
like a borderline race car.
Yes.
If they make the GTD feel even more like a race car, like literally a GT3 for the road, that this shouldn't be road legal. How did they accomplish this? This is so gnarly, and I feel like dying when I'm driving it. That'd be a win. If it's refined and it's like they're going for, oh, look at the interior, then they failed entirely.
Oh man, I think it's a hard, dicey thing to throw around because the people that want it most likely are not going to be track experts.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
Ford's not a brand that you would
it's
go.
hard.
I know. By the way, a lot of people are going to be like, you don't remember the Ford versus Ferrari movie when the Ford beat Ferrari and Matt Damon, blah, 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 blah. Fuck Matt Damon. I don't know where I went there. Matt Damon. What a great movie. Team America.
Incredible.
One of the greatest movies of all time. But Ford doesn't have that name to be recognized in that aspect. So I do think Ford has to sacrifice pure performance to satisfy the needs of a few fat asses that are in the list of Ford that are going to get these cars. And by the way, this is all
did those
speculation.
people? I mean, if we're talking about weight, you weren't fitting in the Ford GT if you were big.
No. Oh, no.
Like that was
Yeah.
That's like a car where two like Italian 140-pound
Well, it's like the Valkyrie.
soaking wet men can fit in it. Not like you're not talking two average Americans fitting in that thing.
No.
Yeah, I haven't been in a Valkyrie, but I can imagine it's even crazier in terms of like you got to be a Victoria's Secret model.
Yeah.
Like, but a guy.
A Victoria's Secret model's leg to
Yeah.
be able to fit in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've also seen
Just
when they're,
this one.
by the way, when they're driving, this is like the gayest trend in all the car market right now. They made the AMG 1, they made the Valkyrie, and now they're making all these other hyper cars, independents that are really close, like enclosed in to give you that F1 type of style, feel. And as you're driving or you see these people driving these cars, you see hairy ass legs touching each other. And oh man, it's fucking disgusting. That's where they lost me.
That's just all of automotive YouTube just
I don't
becomes that
know.
because of the way the seats are configured.
I don't know if I want to have a car where the guy that's sitting next to me, because my wife will never want to get in that car. I know that we like to think that women really adore these crazy, insane cars, but it's mostly guys. So mostly,
for sure.
I would have to
sure.
take another. Like I took my wife to dinner in the LT. She's like, "We gotta go to have dinner, and you gotta take your car." I was like, "You're gonna fucking hate it." She goes, no. I'm older. I now appreciate what you're getting. 5 minutes into the drive, all I heard was like,
Well, they can sell magnetic pants that come with the car. So I'll have the positive, you have the negative. And if we get a little too close, they push each other away. So we're safe.
that's the only way to do it.
That's the only way. I mean, there'll be 10 grand for the pants, but you'll keep yourself safe.
So let me ask you this
Yeah.
to close on the Mustang. If you were on the list to get that Mustang at sticker, would you buy it?
No, because I maybe this is ignorant, but I think I could join the list and have a chance at getting one, and I've decided not to.
Wow. I would straight up pass on that shit.
Yeah. I don't think I would.
And by the way, Ford would never ever put.
And
me
that's
in
not
that list.
I like Ford genuinely.
Yeah.
I had a GT500. I loved it. My dad's had an old GT and a new GT.
I saw that.
You know,
his GT was pretty cool. I don't know if he still got it or
but
not.
he has the older one, but not the newer one. But this one doesn't look crazy enough for me to spend a gnarly amount of money.
$300,000 is a lot of money
on a
for a car. Yeah. When
So-
you can get something flashy,
Yeah.
dashy, and sporty.
And it's not just about that, but it's about feeling like, I feel
My money's worth.
whole
Yeah.
with spending that.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
amount
That's
of
what
money.
I'm saying. I spent that on a 3RS or even a GT3 with a dope ass spec. I'd
Exactly.
be like, cool.
Like if I was gonna spend $300K, I'd get a crazy spec 997 GT3 RS over.
No doubt.
That's just what I would
I'm
do.
with you there.
So how about we've both been fortunate to drive a lot of really cool cars. What is there like a top 3 or 5 or whatever number you care about cars that you haven't driven that you really want to drive?
Oh, easy. Oh, fuck yeah. So, for example, an AMG 1 would not be in the list because it's like no.
Start the list off with one that's absolutely not on the
But
list.
that's what I'm saying. Absolutely not on the list.
Okay.
And I just want to put this in everyone's head, in your head too. As cool as it sounds and everything, there's no way I can tap into that performance. There's no way.
Yep.
Like, I remember when I wanted to get one, I remember texting my friend that races professionally. And I was like, if I get this fucking car, you need to take me out and show me how it works and show me how it drives and everything. He's like, yeah, of course. The one time a year that I'll be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
And that immediately goes like, okay, I don't want something that's extremely overwhelming because at the same time, it's underwhelming when you can't get the most out of your car.
Makes sense, yeah.
So leaving those crazy things out there, I think the T50, for example,
Yeah, that's on my list for sure.
it's a mid-seat car, like middle seat car
Yeah.
style McLaren F1 type of thing. It's got a great engine. It doesn't seem that fast. It doesn't seem that great, at least. But I feel like the whole package as a whole is incredible. The sound of the car, visibility, the seating position, the thinness of the panels, because you watch those videos when they're running it. Oh my God, it sounds incredible. I do think the wheel on the back looks retarded.
Yeah.
Like completely fucking
You know,
stupid.
one of the most legendary quotes I've ever heard was just casual conversation, and Christian von Koenigsegg goes, "It looks like a baboon's ass." I was like, "There's no way you just said that." And
That's
the
a
wild
great
part
point.
is that apparently, as much as I absolutely love that car, it's a bit of a gimmick. It doesn't provide that much downforce, and actually, the weight that it adds and the strange looks are not really worth the performance gain. Unlike that McMurtry Spearling, that really small car that had a crazy fan, that thing,
because
it was all performance and whatever, and it was all on the underside. But the T50, not as much. That's a car for sure on my list. And I think you said it's not that fast. I think I've been in
doesn't
it,
seem like
but
it.
I think it is. It's like 650 horsepower, but it weighs 2,200 pounds.
Yeah, no, but
I mean, it is like 600 plus pounds lighter than your McLaren.
I've seen the. What I'm getting at is I've seen the manual one, right?
Yeah.
Is there an auto?
I don't believe so. I think they're all
I don't
manual.
believe so either.
Yeah.
And when I see the people going around the track on it, maybe because the car is so expensive, they're driving it like
Yeah.
like you see like the gear change like.
Yeah. No, like you're sipping tea. I mean, it's upper echelon.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, dude, it's been 5 minutes.
That is, I've seen at least 4 videos that looked exactly like that. Yeah.
And so to me that puts in my head, this car can't be that fast.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by that.
I think it rips.
It could
like
be.
Gordon Murray, if you could give us one to drive, that would be great.
He's like, absolutely.
He's like, I can
He's
think
like,
of
being
like
one of
1,000
the 3
things I'd rather do.
Being one of the 3 listeners of this podcast that is a really big fan, absolutely. Let me call Parker right now and Alejandra. Yeah, but no. I think car making has plateaued.
Yeah, well, I
And-
think that's peak car enthusiast
Yes.
car. It's a manual.
Yes.
It's a V12. It revs to 11,500 RPM.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
And it's a center seat car.
Yes.
I've only driven 2 center seat cars.
You've driven a
And,
Speedtail?
So I've driven a Speedtail, and then I guess the BAC Mono doesn't really count because it only has a center seat.
One seat, yeah.
And then I guess the F1 car. But
What about the it's not the Mono. What's the one that you said before?
the Speedtail?
The Speedtail.
Yeah.
How did that drive?
I think it's a highly underrated car, to be honest.
I feel like there's no talk,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
chat, no nothing. And I have a few friends that have one, and they never take it out. Like
Really?
never.
Okay.
Never. And in most of these people's eyes,
Did they take out their other high-end hypercars?
oh yeah,
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So I loved it. I thought it was easy to drive. Instantly, it didn't feel weird being in the center. It just felt cool and surreal. It didn't feel crazy positioning it on the road. Like for a second it did. And keep in mind, as somebody who can't afford to, I mean, insurance can, but I can't afford to replace the car if I crash it. It's a little scary.
yeah.
But even with that in mind, it still felt chill to drive. And then the acceleration is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
I bet.
And it feels like a car where if you had infinite money, you could daily drive that thing.
Right?
It's not as raw and
No,
violent as
and
a
it should
P1
be.
or a 765.
And I don't
It
think
feels
it
like
should
it
be.
crushed what it was meant to do. It's like a more unique Chiron.
Yeah, if you will.
Yeah.
So to me, a Speedtail would be one of those cars.
Yeah.
Because of that same thing. So now I got 2 cars on this list, and they're both fucking center drive cars.
There you go.
So clearly, I have it's like when you like black girls or Asian girls, I have a tendency. I like the same thing. So clearly, a center fucking car.
Unbelievable. Well, 2 of the cars on my list are
What
center
are-
seat too. So I've
Are
driven
they?
the Speedtail, so that's not on the list. I would
Okay.
say McLaren
250,
F1.
McLaren. But
Um,
you can't go. I don't think we can go back in history and throw like older cars.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, 'cause, like,
there's so many. Like I'm gonna say a 250 GTO from like whatever. Like no.
Yeah, so I've been in. I was at this Velocity Invitational, and this really nice guy took me for a ride, like balls out in his 250 GTO, and it was incredible. But I think that ticked the box for me for being in one at full speed. Like the guy just like it felt like he couldn't care if the car just evaporated, and he was like, "Oh, this is my like 1200th track day in my 250 GTO." But in terms of driving dynamics,
Wow.
it didn't feel like it was going to be like,
It's a stupid car.
$70 million worth of awesomeness.
I know a lot of people are gonna be like, but it's a stupid car. It's older. It doesn't have like all the greatest and latest things in the world, and of course, it can't even compete with the regular stuff that
I will say
out there on the
it
market.
handled and it had more grip than I was expecting by like fourfold.
Oh, yeah.
we were going fast, and I was
I mean, it
genuinely
was
impressed.
special.
But obviously, as something in the '60s, it's not going to compete with something.
What
now.
about newer ones?
But
What
newer
else?
ones, I mean,
Newer
so
ones.
F1, I would love to drive an F40 just because I love the way it looks.
You've never driven an F40?
I've never driven an F40. I've driven an F50, and that was amazing.
Loved it.
I hear that the F40 is not as good.
The F40, the thing about the F40 is you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and it depends on your driving skills. It
Yeah.
depends on your wallet size, and it depends on where you're driving it.
Yeah.
Because when you accelerate on the car, it's raw as fuck. It's older. It feels like the dynamics feel right in the car. But the moment the turbo kicks in,
Yeah.
and by the way, it's a different moment in every single one of those gear changes.
Yeah.
And when it comes in, the car just wants to explode, but it doesn't. I don't know how to describe that.
See, I like that. I'm down.
Well, that sounds really exciting in a way to me when you're driving something that's worth, how much are they right now? Like 3, 4?
2,
Two?
little over 2.
That's
I
a
mean,
pretty good-
like,
That's still a pretty fucked up price.
dude,
to like,
it is at the like March or April 2020. There was one at Newport for 1.25.
oh, yeah. They were disgustingly cheap.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with the 280.
288.
Yeah.
Those are a lot.
They were like 300 grand at some point, and then
Really?
they just went to like $1 million, and then from $1 million,
Oh, yeah, they're a lot
they
more than $1 million.
skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It was like
So then I'd say T50 for sure.
okay. I'll take that.
And then
too.
honestly, I think I'd love to drive a Valkyrie just to see what that's like.
I love to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to drive a Valkyrie.
Like,
and
you're
a
gonna pass that up?
AMG One, but no. But my thing is, when I say what cars you want to drive, it's very cheap to just say whatever because it's one lap.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I want to put more thought into it. Like I'd have to live with the car
Sure.
because I don't want to live with a Valkyrie. I don't want
Yeah.
to live with an AMG One. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
can't afford to live with any of them, so I'm just,
But I don't think that's the question. I think that really matters. I think what matters the most is the reality of like what would get you excited several times that you could use. Because, like I said, it's really cool, and this is something that I sadly didn't learn until I was older, to buy crazy shit like Paganis and all that stuff. But you need to have so much money to really enjoy them.
Yeah.
And not really just think about like, this shit doesn't work. This is this. And instead of just looking at like, oh, it's just another toy, I don't care like for the moment because I'm driving it for a day. And then tomorrow I'm going to take the Enzo or the F50 or the whatever out. You know what I mean? So in consistent basis as to like what I want to drive, T50 I feel like would be a great dailyable car. I
Yeah.
don't know how low it is. I
don't think it looks insane. From the reviews I've seen, it seems like, I mean, equally dailyable as your 765
So
kind of deal.
that's where-
like,
that's where I'm
obviously
at.
not meant for it, but you could do it.
Yeah. So that one, the Speedtail, I'm dying to drive one of
That
those.
you could daily.
Because I never drove the McLaren F1, and the fact that they made it so easy, because
Yeah.
it's a 720 with a center drive seat.
With a hybrid and
Yes.
a lot more power. But
so
yeah,
I think the Speedtail has a lot of appeal to someone like me.
100%.
And the fact that it's a grand tour, my wife would be like entertained by the fact that she'd be sitting in one side. Like that's fun.
Yeah.
And the other one was the GT3 RS. I was dying to drive a GT3 RS until you were like, it's very disconnected compared to the older ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's still awesome, but it's just not
Top, yeah.
I thought that I was gonna go into this review, and think, oh fuck, like I need to buy this car. I need to,
no.
and I really didn't.
That's crazy.
And even, I mean, if it was at MSRP, and I knew it was gonna hold, then maybe.
Yeah.
Which it probably will, but certainly not for the 500
The
plus
half a mil,
600 that they're going for.
That's retarded.
It just didn't feel like that. So
Is there
moving
another
on.
one?
Is there what?
Is there another one, or are we moving on from the question? Is there another car that you?
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch more cars.
I also want to drive a Navara. I'm dying to see, compared to the Concept One, how that drives.
See, I haven't driven the Concept One. I would imagine that it drives better. But
the
I don't
Concept One was such a funny car, because you could see at the same time that you saw how brilliant Mate was with everything that he put together on it. You could see that he didn't have the money that he wanted to be able to just put it all together.
Yeah,
Does that
this
make
didn't
sense?
feel like that. This felt like a car that had infinite backing.
Now he's got infinite backing.
Yeah.
Back then, he didn't have infinite
yeah.
backing. He was like, I have this one car, and fucking the guy that had the car number one, the silver one, was loaning it to everyone. So it was like a problem. So I'd say, other than those, the Navara. I would be dying to drive and feel that insane acceleration, especially see like what Mate did with a 2.0.
Sure.
Because he's brilliant.
I would say definitely a Zonda. A Zonda R would be incredible.
Have you never driven a Zonda?
No. I've been in a Zonda S. And it was shot way faster than I was expecting.
Yeah, because they're light.
Yeah. But I haven't driven one.
Love the Mercedes
Zonda
engine. I think the Zondas might be actually the most enjoyable. I haven't driven the new one that they did. What's it called?
The Utopia?
Utopia.
Yeah.
I haven't driven that, or I don't know. Pretty
You've driven a
much
Zonda though?
Anything about it? Yeah.
Nice.
I think the Zondas are. Imagine a Carrera GT with a pretty dress.
Yeah. That's what it seems like, and that's
what a
not a
Zonda
bad.
is. That's not a bad.
Not a bad
description.
recipe.
Yes,
Yeah.
They're sexy. They're fun. They're playful. They feel like you're in control, but at the same time, like, watch the fuck out. Like, they make you pay attention.
100%.
And just like the inside, while you're driving, while you're riding, suspension work, incredible. Engine noise, incredible. Barely any sound deadening anywhere, incredible. It's oh my God. I can't believe you haven't driven one. You would love driving a Zonda.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
Hit me up, Zonda owners.
Hey, Pagani.
Hey.
So also Horatio called me, and he's a big fan of the show. He doesn't speak English, but he loves the show.
Not at my show, but I mean, maybe that'd be incredible. Doubt it. All right, so we were talking about Tesla in the last podcast and electric cars, but they've made a soft announcement of a new car, and that is the Redwood is their code name for a $25,000-ish electric car. I think they're going to take over with that. I think they already killed. The Model Y was the most sold car in the United States.
They beat the Corolla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you make one for $25K instead of $35, $45. I think.
What no one seems to understand, in my view, on this is the production dynamics on this is the more cars you build, the cheaper the price becomes.
Yeah. Economies of scale.
And the economy of scale for this specifically is quite efficient. It works really well. And don't worry about the gardeners. You can't hear it here.
Last time I was worried.
Can't hear it here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how long have they been remodeling the house next to you? And by house, I mean their foliage.
I don't understand.
There's 20 guys with chainsaws out there.
These guys have so much money, though.
Yeah.
So much money. They can hire.
They must. They got 20 guys with chainsaws.
They hired all the all of the illegal Mexicans that are coming through the border every day.
They're all
here.
They caused it.
They're all here, and
Makes
they're
sense.
my homies. We're gonna have tortas after this, and
I'm down.
Okay. I think Tesla is underrated in that sense. I think people don't understand the value of Tesla towards the future. We were just talking about off camera on the iPhone example.
Yeah.
Before we had phones, we had before we had the iPhone and we had Android, we had Nokia's, we had Sony Ericsson, we had Motorola, we had all these different players in the cell phone market, and it was very diversified. You would see all sorts of phones everywhere. And at some point, the iPhone comes out, it takes over like 60% of the market. The Android comes out, they take the other percentage of the market. And now you basically see two different types of phone, even though Android's made by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that changed the way that we saw phones from the past. And no one really ever put any thought behind that. They were just like, it is what it is and whatever. I think with the cars, we're going to see the same thing. Teslas are so fucking cheap, and they're going to get cheaper. And the more cars that they make and the harder they go at like cheaper sectors, the more achievable it becomes. They had to start on a high note. Marketing-wise, Marketing-wise, when you start a company, you want to put out a product that's a really aspirational product, something that people can afford, something that you look up to.
Sure.
Gucci, Prada, whatever the fuck it is. And yeah, it's
Going for the mic now.
Fiona's just trying to go all in. on the
Absolute
couch.
star of the show. It's just pure breathing now
Excuse
on
me,
the podcast.
Fiona. Thank you. So you always got to create a really high-end product.
Yeah.
And then you can create your cheaper products because people will want the high-end product.
Of course.
It's marketing 101. And the other thing that also works is if you're creating 3 products and you make one $1, another one $5, and the last one $8, most people will spend $5 than the $1 on the cheaper product. It's like a rule in marketing and sales.
Makes sense.
So you always make money like that, right? I think Tesla did the right thing starting with the higher end cars.
Sure.
Then they moved on into their bread and butter, Model 3, Model Y. Killed it. You saw the numbers explode, like it exploded everywhere in sales.
Yeah.
You're seeing how he's ramping up production in all of the gigafactories for more and more cars, how fast he can churn them out. This is why he doesn't have like different weird colors, weird options. There's no M3 style car. It's just like efficiency. So he's rolling all of these. Now he's going to roll a cheaper car. Again, the more cars that Tesla sells, the cheaper they'll become. Whereas on the other end, you have GM, you have Stellantis, you have Ford, that they're set on an objective. And their objective is, we want to sell less cars for more money. They just want to make sure that they're making their nut on each car. And that's a problem for them. I do think we're going to see in the next 5-7 years, like all modern cars, 50% of them will be Teslas.
I can see it.
And I'm talking about outside of China. Obviously, people are going to be like, well, BYD. You can't buy a BYD here. You can't buy a BYD in I don't know if in the UK you can or not.
I don't know.
But in most of our westernized society, you can't, just like you cannot buy a Huawei phone.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
think Tesla's
Elon
gonna
had
take over like
an
this.
interesting interview that I saw where he said the hardest part about building a car was the manufacturing process. And I
Yes.
think the manufacturing process has everything to do with creating a car as cheaply as possible for a profit.
And
you
by the
look
way,
at
that's
places-
on every business.
Yeah.
Every business.
But you look at like companies like Lucid that are losing hundreds of thousands per car that they sell. And then Rivian's still losing money, right?
30 grand, but that's they're getting into that sweet spot.
Sure.
Where they're not going to anymore. They're about to announce their R2s, which are the smaller ones. Rivian is very similar to Tesla. Rivian, in my view, is a company that is Tesla when it was ranging between 250 and 350 in stock price, where people were like, yeah, this is cool, but it's never gonna like really do well because they're losing money. And then one day, I believe it was between 2017, 2018, 2019, Tesla was like, oh, by the way, we didn't lose $700 million last year. We made $800 million. And people were like, what? And the stock price just went to the moon. I think the same thing's going to happen to Rivian because the only other manufacturer outside, again, don't count the Chinese ones, outside of Tesla is Rivian that's really, really, really setting themselves up for success in a very smart play and their technologists at the same time. They're not just like a car company, and that's where Ford, that's where GM, they put out they invested in all these different self-driving things,
Sure.
and they all failed. They invested in all these charging stations, and they all failed.
Well,
and now they're turning around and leaning on Elon to bail them out of their bad decisions.
I mean, Elon's supercharger network could be its own standalone multi-billion-dollar business.
Imagine
because
owning 55,000 gas stations.
It really,
dude.
yeah. I mean,
Are you fucking kidding
I
me?
would love nothing more, but it literally is.
It's the Jewish
It's
in your
genius,
blood.
and exactly, of course. It's which is interesting because the new like agenda of Tesla is called the Master Plan 3, and like the Jewish in me is like, that seems like a little bit.
That's it.
I don't know. Like
that's a little reminiscent
the
of the
redwood
past.
comes out and what happens. But their supercharger network is, other than the car being good and fast and whatever, they have their own problems. But the supercharger network is unbelievable,
Yeah.
and it makes Tesla a livable vehicle.
Yes.
Because you can go, it works every time, and all the other supercharger networks, or Electrify America and EVgo and all those, just don't have the same level of performance. But moving on from that, I was a Tesla investor. So I look back and I'm like, damn, I had a serious conversation with my mom and dad and a couple other people and their financial advisors when Tesla went public. And we all kick each other because we basically got convinced out of buying it right when it went public at, I believe, $17. But I went in at 37 and then 70 and then a little more at 250, and it split in like a lot of times since then. Purely based on the fact that I thought that electric cars, for better or for worse, independent of my own thoughts on what makes a cool car, would be the future of the automobile. And I still believe that, and I think Tesla, they've got a lot of room to grow with Cybertruck, the Gigafactory, the new Redwood, the Roadster. Please
their
freaking
solar
come out
business,
eventually.
yeah.
Like I think that's a long-term play. Have you invested in other car companies, and what has been like the reason where you went, okay, I think I'm in?
So I do. I learned from Tesla. I learned a big mistake for me was, for a very long time, I didn't want to invest in the stock market. I was really against it. At some point, when I bought my first building, I bought it because I was losing so much money in the stock market. Because when I first started making money, they told me the one thing you need to do is have an account with a financial advisor and like buy shares and whatnot. So when I started killing it, that's what I did. And then I would just see my money go like,
Yeah.
but this was 2007, 2008, 2009.
You picked
And
a
at
good
some point,
time.
I'm like, dude, I need to get the fuck out of here. I can't do this anymore. And at some point, I won. I had a trade that favored me. And it was an error. I had like $200,000 put in something, and they were like, they turned into $27 million. So I was like, fuck, this is incredible.
You did that?
Well, my financial advisor did. So I checked my account and I'm like, yep, 27 million. And I logged out. I logged back in hours later. I was like, I have $27 million. I fucking made it. Called the dude. And this is 2008. That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now $27 million, you can't buy anything anymore.
I mean, give me 27 million. I'll figure out things to buy.
So I called the dude. I'm like, you need to pull all my money out right now. 27 million. I don't care if it's going up higher. If you're telling me 100 million, this is what I need. I need the money out. And he goes, can't give it to you. It's an error. And I go, so what? Give me the money. And they're like, no. They'll put you in jail. I was like, let me risk it. Let me risk it. $27 million. I'll go to jail. No problem. Send me the money. And he goes, no, because they'll also punish me, blah, blah, blah. So didn't give me the money. And I learned at that point, this is what I thought. You can never beat the stock market. Because I asked him, so when you fuck up, because they had the flash crash right before this, and I lost money because that's when I bought my first building. And I said, I lost $400,000 just in a day like this, right now. And that was an error, right? The flash crash. Oh, yeah, someone sold or whatever the fuck it was. I can't remember. That cost it. Oh, yeah, this is an error. So someone sold more than they should have, but stock market went down and then it went up. I was like, so on that scenario,
Yeah,
I
that
lost.
counts. Yeah.
And he goes, yes. And I go, but now that I won, you're telling me that I cannot have my money. And
So
he
what kind of
goes,
error are we talking about?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I can't remember what it was, to be honest with you. But it was mostly like, for example, it was like $220,000 that I put in, and he was supposed to pay me $270,000.
Aha.
So the error was whatever zero they added.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's 27 million. But there was $27 million in my bank account. Imagine.
Yeah. Well, I can't personally, but I've had situations like I've done a lot of crypto investing, and during the whole NFT boom and shitcoin market and whatnot, I was dabbling in everything. And there was a couple instances where there were genuine errors, and my friends opened their accounts, and on their app it said like 2.7 trillion, and we were like,
Cash out.
"What the fuck?
Cash out, Elon.
What?
Cash out.
And yeah, it didn't work. No.
Yeah,
cash
no.
out.
Every time they make a mistake, they can take it back.
Yeah.
But when it's you that gets affected by it, you eat it.
Yeah.
So I didn't invest for a long time. But when Tesla came out, I remember thinking, like, this is something that's going to change the world. And I didn't put two and two together. I didn't invest anything because I still thought everything is corrupted, blah, 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 which is. But you can still make money on corrupted shit. And eventually I got into it. I learned how to trade. I love swing trading. And
What trading?
swing trading.
Okay.
Love it. And that's something that for a lot of people that are watching that might not understand, it's something that swing trading means you're coming in for a day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe 2 weeks, perhaps a month on something that you're buying and then getting a return and getting the fuck out. That's what swing trading means.
That's like the number one way to just lose everything.
Well, for people that don't know how to do swing trading,
Yeah.
that's the way to lose everything. The
100%.
more you trade, the worse you do. But when you know what you're doing, it's so easy to make money swing trading. It might be the easiest way to make money in the world. So I started getting into that. Love trading and whatnot. And now lately, I've been wanting to build a portfolio with proper investments. And specifically right now, because Tesla's mega punished and Rivian is fucking mega punished too for what they're doing. And I even see Lucid, which is at $1 at $2 now, which is crazy fucked up. I'm holding a small position on Lucid just because the Saudis invested in it. They are not that far off. If they can figure out that they need to fire their CEO and get a new one, and they get it rolling, that's awesome. But to me, the best place right now in the stock market for cars is Tesla, because it's AI. AI and robotics. People are not putting any value whatsoever right now, at all, on what's coming up in the next 3 to 5 years.
Is OpenAI a private company?
OpenAI, Microsoft. That you go through Microsoft to
Gotcha.
invest in OpenAI. That's why Microsoft now touched all-time highs. So
Makes
you cannot invest directly in OpenAI. Microsoft took 51% or 49% of the company.
That guy, by the way, the founder,
Altman.
Sam Altman, has a McLaren F1.
Yes.
Seems like a big car enthusiast.
Yeah, he's incredibly
Young dude,
loaded.
killing
You know
it.
he's gay too?
I did not.
And the reason why is that's a great fucking purchase. I've never seen like an openly gay dude buy a McLaren F1 ever. That to
Well,
me was
if
like,
you're,
that's it.
Sorry,
I just find
sorry,
it interesting.
sorry to my
Sergio.
girlfriend, but if you're looking for a boyfriend,
I'll suck
I
your
will.
dick.
Actually, I can bring my girlfriend because it's got 3 seats. Just let me drive your McLaren F1.
Sam is a fucking
No,
man.
seems like a G. Yeah.
Very smart.
100%.
Very smart dude. So I think the biggest play is Tesla with AI and robotics.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it. When he puts out the robot, I want to buy 50 of them. And when I say I want to
Yeah,
buy 50
I
of
wanna
them,
buy one too.
I'm not kidding. Because you buy 50 of these fucking robots and you can have an army of plumbers, of handymans. I know you're
That's
kidding.
what you need first as a
Gardeners?
plumber. That doesn't surprise me.
Well,
in the
what you
slightest.
do is you rent them out. You sell them out to everyone. And yes, I would still
no,
need a
this
plumber
is an
for
army of
many
50 for your own personal use.
I would need at least 3 of those guys
How many
to stay
bathrooms do you have in this place?
Exactly.
Jesus.
here. But I think Tesla is incredibly underappreciated, undervalued. Then Rivian. Rivian had the highest high that he got to.
Yeah.
The IPO was at like around $75, $85. They went all the way to $180. you can buy Rivian. I haven't checked the closing of the market right now, but it's at $15 right now. And Rivian is the only company that has a deal with Amazon, the way that they have it, where they build their vans, and now they can build FedEx's and the USPS and everyone else's. Rivian is the only one that's built as many cars as Tesla, for example, where Rivian sold last year, on their first year of sales, 50-something units. Like 54,000 units, I believe that's what they moved. Whereas Lucid altogether, they haven't sold more than 9,000 cars. And Lucid has been around the block forever. They're the second largest producer of electric cars in the United States. And that's where you're seeing the value. So Rivian also operates as a technology company. They have the skateboard platform. The skateboard platform allows you to build any electric car on this platform, whether it's a supercar, a coupe, a sedan, a pickup truck, an SUV, or anything you want with the same. And as I said in the past before, I really think that cars are going back to coach building, where Apple needs a car, and they're right now at a critical point where they're like, we're going to either axe it or we're going to make it. I think Apple is going to buy someone like Rivian, for example, or like Lucid. If I was Apple, I would buy Rivian because the money and the brand relation seems more right for them.
Yeah.
It's very Silicon Valley type of thing. But I think Rivian would be number 2. I'm invested in Rivian. My biggest bag is Rivian right now. My second biggest bag is Tesla. I've barely, literally, I'm talking about $5,000 I threw into Lucid because Lucid might get a jump to a 3x from where it's at right now, which is nothing still. Oh, wow, it got to $7.
Yeah,
and I still make a killing. But I don't believe in Lucid right now. They need to change fundamentals in everything that they're doing. The only ones that I believe is Rivian and Tesla. And I think GM, Ford, and Stellantis are in the death sentence, and they will go out of business at some point if the government's not paying for everything so they can get out of trouble.
I'm curious about these robots, the Tesla robots, what the limitations on where they can go is. Because at first, I don't think they're going to be able to drive a car. So I just had this vision of all right, you want some food, you need something from the store. So one's just running down the 405 at 60 miles an hour and then waiting in line at Chipotle for you and then coming back down the freeway.
Imagine you're driving your car and then you turn around and there's a fucking robot running next to you. You're on the freeway. You're like, holy fuck, what the shit?
Yeah.
By the way, if someone can jailbreak into these robots and they can actually steal from you while you're going really fast on the freeway, that'd be the
I mean, if you got
peak of
plaid
crime.
power in a 250-pound robot,
that'd be the
cooking.
peak of crime. No, I think actually driving for these robots will be one of the easiest first things that
Probably.
they can do.
I mean, I guess all it really needs to do is just hop in an autonomous car. The car does itself, and then...
Well, no, because the autonomous
gets out.
driving, the machine learning from it, which
Yeah.
it's a derivative of two different things, right? Like a specific problem that occurs, what it's ready for, and then the machine learning so that it can actually process different ways of solving a problem that it's never encountered before. That's going to go into the brain of the fucking robot. So the first thing that a robot actually should be able to do is drive. And the reason why is because if we're getting autonomous cars if we're already at the point that we are with them, they should be able to just be like, all right, easy. Because their input is so retarded. It's just move the steering wheel one side to the other, brake or accelerate.
So you're getting 50. What's the logistics? Where are these things sleeping?
I would get a warehouse.
They just stand all around you?
I would get a warehouse.
At nighttime in your bed?
And I would put a bed in the middle and do the biggest gangbang of robots that anyone has ever seen. That's what I would go with. I mean,
do you
think about
they
it.
would
I
learn?
can shoot a porn. I can shoot a porno. Easy. I can do anything with these robots. They're my slaves. And no one will look at them like slaves. They're just robots. I can talk about this openly because I'm not going to pay them shit. I buy one of these. It's $28,000, $30,000. I own you. And I can make you do whatever I want.
Dude, I think you're going to have a race war against robots at some point. Yeah. No, the robots hate you already.
I'll do this. I'm still going to take advantage of the robots until they have their right movements, right? Until they do their
and then you're gonna apologize.
I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know that you knew anything. And they'll be like, cool. That happens in the past all the time. all the time. If I'm just based on history, if I'm just basing my theories on history, I should be good. I should be good to go. But the only thing that worries me about the robots is, what if you get home and then your wife is getting it on with the robot, because the robot can last as long as you want, as long as you want. It can have a dick as big as you need. It can actually cook. It can
Well,
change
you'll just
tires.
have to downgrade the robot, so
It
it's
can
no
do
longer.
everything. That's the only
gotta
thing that
nerf
makes me
him.
nervous.
Yeah.
Imagine getting home and then you just hear the greatest bam, 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 bam that you've ever heard in your life, the greatest screams of all time. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And he's just like, Wally A. And you're like, dude, what happened? Why are you banging Wally A? Oh, don't worry, sweet. He's just a robot. He's like a vibrator, but bigger. And then before you know it, Wally 8 wants to kill you. What, because he's already in love with your wife. That's the only thing that scares
Wally
me.
8's drunk driving.
He's
just
drunk driving. He's pissed off. He's got a gun.
crashing your car.
Yeah, that's the only thing that scares me about the robot, the wife problem. But other than that, I think I would be a good robot owner as a slave owner.
Have you expressed your concerns with your wife about the robot?
No, not yet.
No?
Until
Yeah,
I
okay.
get the robot, that's when I'll bring it up. But I feel like if I just base my ownership on these robots on the NCAA playbook, I'll be good.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll be good. If they were able to get humans to do everything they did for them for free, I can get robots to do whatever I want for free. Come on.
Well, I
you
mean, you can
kidding
just
me?
program them to do.
But you don't think Tesla will be the biggest company in the world easy?
I could see that.
Can I tell you what my base case for that
How
is?
close are they to Apple?
This is what I want to get to. Apple is, now the second largest company. Microsoft just beat them for the first time.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize that.
Yes. Microsoft just took over the largest company in the world, right? By market cap. And what Apple is, it's a high-end producer of hardware and software. You agree?
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Everyday hardware and everyday software. Tesla is a bigger producer of everyday hardware and software. In reality, for Tesla, creating just a phone would be nothing. Also, considering he's got SpaceX, Starlink, and that now that he's releasing those like cell towers to space, he can actually provide anyone that would buy a Tesla phone. And again, the biggest point of that is, if you have many gigafactories around the world and they can produce all these different things, because it's all about production lines, and you have the hardware, you specialize in materials, battery, software, hardware, you can do anything. And I do think Tesla will take over Apple's business easy, considering that your car has already an operating system in it.
Yeah.
So basically, that could work for any computer or phone.
Yeah, I wonder what their lifetime profitability per customer is, because obviously
I think
Apple,
it's gonna be huge.
Apple has really good retention for their customers.
Yes.
You buy an iPhone, you get the next one and the next one.
And also the environment, right? The ecosystem.
Exactly. And then Tesla's got a similar vibe to it, where it's always innovating, and then all of a sudden your thing's trash and you need the new one. Obviously, we're talking 10, 20, 30, 100 times more than a phone or a laptop. But as they get down to that redwood, as they create other products, and then also maybe just the net profit per unit sold. Like, I don't know what the profit's going to be on their robots or whatnot, but it might make up for the amount of times people are buying an iPhone versus a $200,000 robot.
Well, the robot's not going to be that expensive.
How much do you think it'll be?
He said he was going to be $28,000. So let's go with 50 grand.
You really think?
Let's go with 50 grand. Yeah.
I mean, I would for sure buy one for 50 grand.
Think about a car and how much hardware that needs compared to a robot. Once you create the first robot and you have all of the R&D done, and then you can mass produce the robot, it shouldn't be that expensive.
Yeah, I guess once it has the brain and the
why would it be more than a Model 3?
It just has to adapt to more different environments. I mean, the Model 3 for the most part you're driving, but yeah, I guess it's software. Yeah,
you already created the hardware. It actually takes less pieces, less wiring.
Yeah,
I mean, you know this. You put shit together. You're an engineer.
I think it's just because it hasn't been done before. You look at
and
companies
that's why
like
we put such
Boston
a high
Robotics, and they go, "This is a $48 million thing that all it can do is do a backflip once and then wave at you like this." It's but yeah, I mean, if they get the cost down, which they will, if they can produce 1 million of them a year or whatever, then
So that's what they're going to do. And at the same time, you got to look at Tesla rather than just this. When you're looking at Apple and all that crap, the success in Apple, it's also a big deterrent towards their future. Because Apple made software exclusively for Apple devices. Whereas on the other end, you have Android that made software for every device that exists. And that was proven to be a success. I think Tesla is killing it at understanding that. Whereas an infrastructure project, kind of like their gas stations, their electric gas stations, where now Rivian, Ford, and all these different car brands can participate and be a part of their charging station and use it as a part of their charging infrastructure, which is brilliant.
It's interesting because
what about self-driving? What about the autopilot? You think that Waymo and these guys are going to be able to do a better job than Tesla at creating self-driving? It's just a fantasy that people have when you're talking about miles that you're actually getting as use case.
No, I think it's interesting because they could gatekeep it all like Apple. And it's interesting that they're dipping into that with the supercharger because then where does it go? Did they open source the battery technology like Lucid? Why am I drawing a blank?
Who?
Rimac.
Yeah.
You know, do they sell their battery packs to other companies?
Well, the batteries are Panasonic.
Really?
And BYD? Yeah. What do you mean BYD? BYD is one of the biggest battery providers.
Of Tesla?
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Their cars basically share the same pack.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that makes sense why
because
BYD is so popular.
You want the same type of thing powering everything. Like you don't get let's say in the past, you didn't buy a toy that had its own batteries.
Sure.
You had Duracell or Energizer on it.
You just had to put its own unique cable with Apple and just keep buying new.
Well, but Apple's
now
are dicks.
Now they've had to go standardized with USB-C. They got
and that's another thing about Apple that I see as a deterrent towards the future. It's exactly those type of practices. Because, you were able to charge us all for a fucking cable $39 million, dude, for years. But now you can't. And now there's other people coming out with all more competent stuff. What the fuck are you going to do? And I think the battery technology, like I said, is not really Tesla's thing. Like, for example, the 12-volt battery, like the 48-volt, right? That's the crazy one that they did just now. I think their new wiring harness, it's a new style that everyone should take because it's just a mess when you open up a car and see all the wires everywhere that you don't need. I think the AC units in the car with the purifiers and the way and the efficiency that they run on, it's another thing. The chargers, I think the software for the car too, and I think they're just going to continue to create things that you can put in every other car.
And then, but at that point, is almost every car going to be the same?
Yeah, no doubt. This is what I'm saying. And everyone will drive a Tesla. Tesla will become... You have to buy one because they're so cheap. It makes no sense to buy a regular car. And then only certain rich people will have the right to drive something without autopilot during the weekends
I think that's
or
the
wherever.
dream. I mean,
think so too.
The traffic, if everything's autonomous and all the cars communicate with each other, there's no traffic. They run a foot behind each other and no one hits the brakes, which causes a freaking accordion effect down the freeway for who knows how long. And then there's just me and you when we won the lottery in our T50s.
No, hang on.
Ooh. Oh, man.
That's what those videos look like.
Welcome to ASMR
so
with Parker
slow.
and Alejandro. That was some good gated manual.
It's hitting everything and also preparing a coffee. It's doing
It
all
really
at the same
did sound
time.
like you were getting a caramel macchiato or something out of that thing.
Absolutely. This is an hour. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to just save for the rest?
No, let's save it for another time. This thing rips by. It's always I'm like talking out loud to you and to the camera, but it's like a super fun time doing this, and
this is why it's so good.
Yeah, no, it's good. So guys, let us know in the comments below if you got any topics, questions, concerns about what we should do on future episodes. Might make he made an Instagram post on his Instagram about questions. I might do a similar thing. But
I stole the Mercedes question from the comments. So someone was asking in the previous podcast, why don't you own a Mercedes anymore? And I was like, right.
Yeah. No,
that
was
fucking
a good
piece of shit. I'm sure.
that was a good conversation. But as he mentioned previously, it's available on like every platform. Spotify, all the things that I am unfamiliar with podcasts, as well as his channel, Salamandrin. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. See ya.
See you next week.